Congress has just over a week to avoid a government shutdown. Today, House Republicans are shifting gears after a plan pairing government funding with a bill that requires people to prove they're citizens in order to vote that failed to get enough support. 14 Republicans opposed the bill. 3 Democrats voted in favor of it. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump has called for a government shutdown if Republicans don't get what's called the SAVE Act passed. Still, leaders from both parties say a shutdown is not smart.
We have 2 very important objectives right now. Congress has an obligation to fund the government, and Congress has an obligation to ensure that our elections are secure.
The extreme MAGA Republicans are determined to shut the government down and hurt everyday Americans because they are on an ideological crusade.
With the September 30th deadline rapidly approaching, I spoke with Illinois Congressman Mike Quigley about the path ahead. Congressman, thanks for joining me as always. So on the agenda, government shutdown, just a little over a week away. Look, the House always takes things to the 11th hour. It is an election year, though. Would I be smart to put my money on the House figuring this out and a deal getting passed?
Well, I always told you that the Republicans I work with most effectively are the ones that are fellow appropriators. And I don't think they'll let the Speaker shut the government down in an election year. The government's been shut down 3 times under Republican leadership since I've been here, once when they had the president and the Senate. So I guess I put nothing past them, but I just can't imagine that'll happen in 2024.
And what we're talking about is a continuing resolution. This is not passing a budget for a year or 2 or something like that. We're trying to get 6 months out of this. But I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, that the sticking point here is something called the SAVE Act, that Republicans want this bill, which says only citizens can vote in elections, to be part of that resolution. My question is twofold. Number one, what does that have to do with budgeting? And number 2, isn't it already law that only citizens can vote?
I think it's best described as a solution in search of a problem. You can't vote if you're not a citizen. But this was thrown in as a poison pill because Speaker Johnson was told by candidate Trump he had to do this. So that's why we're there. We lost probably 2 weeks as a result of that. So in the final analysis, I think he pulls that out and there's going to be a clean CR. Does the Senate or the House go first? We're not sure. But your point about it's a continuing resolution, not funding, is not a small one. I mean, Secretary Austin stressed this month that funding government incrementally through continuing resolutions hurts defense readiness. It hurts all aspects of government. It's no way to run a railroad. And this polarization is inefficient, costs us money, but it makes our government less safe as well.
Before I leave the SAVE Act, because you issued a statement about this, and you made an interesting point, which is to say, aside from the point we've just made, that it's pretty much law anyway, you said, look, it would make it harder for millions of legal citizens to register to vote, people with military IDs and such. What were you saying there?
Well, look, you can't use your birth certificate if you're a woman who's changed her name because she got married. It eliminates the ability to use your military ID, college IDs. So basically, it's a thinly veiled attempt at voter suppression with Republicans targeting people they don't want to vote.
We also know that there's another factor here, which apparently former President Trump has basically told the Speaker, told his other Republicans on Capitol Hill, he wants this thing passed. He wants the SAVE Act in there, and feel free to shut the government down if you must. So this is a really powerful moment because Republicans like to get in line with whatever Trump wants them to do, but we are weeks away from an election, and now their future is on the line, unless they think I'm doing what President Trump asked me to do, so don't punish me.
You know, I understand this is something that President Trump likes to do. I think it's horrible timing for the Republicans, again, those who want to get something done. I think the fact they didn't pass the CR with this bill in there is good evidence, and the fact the Senate would never take it up, that will actually get something done. But it is frustrating. From a political point of view, though, I think it's a horrible idea. I think the bottom line is it's something you might do cynically in a primary, but it does not appeal to the people that Harris and Trump are desperately trying to attract. That's swing voters in swing states. This is a primary tactic where you're going after the extremes.
let's just play out for a moment. If there is a shutdown, then I know Democrats' position would be, well, the Republicans are going to hold the bag for this. But it made me think of the infrastructure bill where Republicans didn't support it, but they're certainly there at the opening of a bridge or a road or whatever to cut the ribbon and take credit for the money that came to their district, even though they didn't vote for it. Do you, as a Democrat, have fear that if the government shuts down, Republicans will say it's their fault? They obviously want people who aren't in this country legally to vote.
Yeah, typically what happens with a shutdown is everybody loses to a degree, but the party that's in power in that house takes most of the blame. And the fact that this has publicly been stated by candidate Trump makes it far more difficult for them to duck on the issue. And they don't have the luxury of waiting a year or two when these infrastructure bills start coming to fruition, and you got bridge cuttings for bridges and roads and so forth.
I know you're not in the Senate. I just want to kind of bring this analogy up because it struck me, which is, as you know, in the Senate, they're having issues with the IVF bill. They can't get that to the floor. Democrats say we want to protect a woman's right to use IVF and other fertility treatments, and Republicans voted against it. But the thing is, Republicans say, look, there is no law that prevents the use of IVF. So I get what I'm saying is it's what's going on in the Senate, sort of a mirror image of this SAVE Act issue that's going on in the House.
Well, to an extent, it's politics and, 4 weeks out, early voting starting now in parts of the United States. But I think the Republicans and most Americans know that there have been efforts to restrict this process, and passing a national bill to protect is the right thing to do. So, look, in the end, we're all playing for very narrow votes. Biden won by 47,000 votes in 3 states. It's looking like similar margins that will take place coming up in November. So it's the tactics people take, unfortunately.
You live elections every 2 years. Most polls, almost all polls, as far as I know, show that Vice President Harris won that debate she had with Donald Trump. The only person that doesn't think so is Donald Trump, who says he won it. But here's my question for you. Why do the polls continue to be so close? She did not really get a bump out of that debate, and there was a distinct difference in their performances.
Well, look, I think you really have to look at the crosstabs and narrow numbers there. And if it's the economy, stupid, as they always said, right? The fact that gas prices are down 20% in the swing states, the fact the Fed lowered interest rates, which will save people on adjustable rate mortgages in those states about $200 a month. We're still growing the economy. Inflation's down, 6 points when we passed the Inflation Reduction Act. I think that stuff will be very telling for the small numbers that are still undecided.
So it sounds like you are still optimistic about the way things look for Democrats going forward.
I become more and more optimistic. Polling becomes very difficult as we get to these smaller numbers, and polling with Donald Trump has always been difficult. But I'm more optimistic as time goes on. The debate performance helps. I think the president has really hurt himself with his cognitive performance. I do think that people are starting to notice that. And again, we're not talking about big swings that we'd see dramatically in the movies, 5-6 points. It's going to be 0.05% that makes the difference.
Congressman Mike Quigley, it's not a movie, it's real. Thanks for your time today, sir. Have a good Sunday, and good luck in Washington next week as you work with your colleagues to try and resolve this situation. Thank you, sir.
Thanks again.